this is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with another Izzet Prowess League this morning. A little bit later start than I wanted, but let's get into it. So, this is the same list we played the other day. Well, I wasn't exactly happy with the sideboard of 1s and 2-ofs. Once again, kind of like with the Team Rec deck when we were playing that, I feel like playing it a little bit more before having some idea of what cards in the sideboard are good, what cards in the sideboard are bad. And a lot of them, functionally serve the same purpose as far as what they're trying to accomplish. Main deck felt pretty decent. I kind of like the split of a lot what was going on. The 16 creatures. Some could argue maybe the Bedlam Reveler should be in the main deck. But beyond that, the main deck I really didn't have too many complaints about. You have 9 free spells to trigger your Stormwing entity. 2 Gut Shot, 3 Mutagenic Growth, 4 Metamorphose. You have the usual spread of 16 creatures, the 4 Swift Spear, the 4 Soulscar Mage, the 4 Sprite Dragon, and obviously the 4 Stormwing entity. You have the 4 Lava Dart, 2 Burst Lightning, 4 Bolts, and 2 Gut Shots to help deal with creatures. And then obviously you have Opt, Metamorphose, and Light Up a Stage to help you get through your deck. 3 copies of Fiery Islet also, along with your mana base, allows you to cycle whenever you're seeing too many lands. And beyond that, your general strategy: play a dude, play a bunch of spells, kill your opponent. Sometimes you chip shot your opponent, sometimes you burst them down in one turn. Beyond that, Mutagenic Growth primarily here to protect your creatures and pump to deal extra damage. This is very key for protecting your card from something like Lightning Bolt, which is one of the premier removal spells in the format at the moment. I think speed is essentially key in the format right now, as Sodek was working on that Violent Outburst, Trickery, Tibalt's Trickery combo deck. I saw a version that played against him that was running like Serum Visions and such, but was also running at least some number of Force of Negations in the main. Something to consider in the current meta if that deck continues to take off. That deck does fold to 1 piece of Disruption, and its sideboard plan that is currently being worked with the Amulet, or the old Primeval Titan sideboard, is a little bit slow, considering they don't have access to Amulet and such. Sideboard, once again, as we mentioned, a little bit all over the place, but a lot of the spells functionally serve the same purpose. Spell Pierce and Mystical Dispute oftentimes for the blue matchups. A little bit of disruption for your spell-based opponents. Vapor Snags help to deal with larger creatures that sometimes your removal suite just can't deal with. So, getting rid of Tarmogoyfs, getting rid of Death Shadows, Scourges, etc. Buying you some time for your creatures to close out the game or just burn out your opponent. Ether Gust, pretty solid in a red meta. A little bit more on the downside if we're more of a combo deck, although I do suppose it does hit Tibalt's Trickery as well. 1 copy of Surgical Extraction along with 2 Tormod's Crypts and a Soul Guide Lantern. This might actually be too much graveyard hate at the moment. Other than Uro decks, there really isn't a ton going on combo-wise, as All Spells really isn't a big thing at the moment, with especially people messing with Tibalt's Trickery. Abrade's pretty nice against any type of artifacts, a Chalice of the Void, etc., which we did run into in the last league, as well as like any Charbelchers that get exposed, etc. Also hits the Snaring Bridge. Kozilek's Return, pretty good in the red mirrors, pretty good against smaller creature decks. Particularly good against the card Core Firewalker out of Burn. Not as good in the mirror match, as oftentimes your opponent can play a spell to pump the things beyond the X2, but... And then finally a Bedlam Reveler for any style of a grindy deck. So we have a little bit better, more interesting spread of decks than we did last time. I think last time we played against Boggles right out the chute. We played against like Boggles, Eldrazi Tron, was it 4-color Uro? And then we closed out with like Spirits and... I'm trying to remember what the other one was. It was a weird league. Then again, my Burn league yesterday wasn't exactly fantastic either. So I'd like to play first. Looks like our opponent has a companion to reveal. They're a Gigantha, so we're probably I don't know what we're facing with Gigantha. Could be a red mirror. This hand seems fine in a red mirror. If we find a second land, we have could be some type of weird combo deck too. If we find a second land, obviously we have Stormwing Entity to go with our Soulscar Mage. This hand is a little bit of a gamble, I'm not going to lie. If we don't find a second land, this Soulscar Mage could be probably not enough to close out the game. But, you know, when you're only playing an 18 land 4-op deck, you can't really... Okay, so we're probably up against stupid combo deck number 1 of the format. Yep, we're up against the Violent Outburst deck, so we're probably dead next turn. Problem with Tibalt's Trickery is it casts the stupid cards, so we're not getting another turn most likely. Yep, like I said, bullshit incoming. Curious what else I should board. What I should actually board out here. Guess we board like this. We could bring in Mystical Dispute somehow if they stumble on lands, but otherwise I think Mystical Dispute's just too slow. 8% obviously can't target Emrakul. Don't know what their particular sideboard plan is, if they're on whatever. Our life total is completely inconsequential, so Have the turn 3 kill lined up here? Might. I'd feel bad, but considering I just got turn 2'd, you know. That is kind of one of the draws to Izzet is just its ability to close out the game on turn 3 unopposed. But once again, when you're, this hand just doesn't do anything. This hand isn't great, but it does something kind of. So basically we're dead. Need to find Spell Pierce or land plus yeah, because their deck is so land dense, they can mulligan to like 1 or 2, find out Violent Outburst, and have a pretty good chance of just hitting land, because their deck is like 4 Violent Outburst, 1 Tibalt's Trickery, and like 2 or 3 Emrakuls, and that's all lands beyond that. So like their deck is like 53 lands, 7 spells or something stupid. So legitimately they can just mulligan to Violent Outburst, and then if you can't disrupt them, you're just dead. Yeah. I guess I could make them show me the stupid thing. Alright, well. Doesn't have a creature, so I can't realistically keep it. We could use Opt to find it, but that's really sketch, so I guess we keep this hand. Put back. This hand's a little bit on the soft side here, but when you're already mulligan, okay. Wow. Just wow. When I put the stream title up, I was joking. But I really have stared down 2 combo decks right out the chute. So, our opponent was showing us Lotus Bloom. There's a decent chance we're not dead until 2 turns, but we could be dead next turn if they have Grace plus Spoils plus Ad Naz. Yeah, I think if we play Izzet Prowess again, I might have to go more towards a like some type of deck that our opponent, or not our opponent, someone was playing against Sodek that had like main deck Force like Negation. At least against Ad Nauseam, we have a good bit more tools in our... I guess I shouldn't F6 in case they have the combo. Although there's no way to interact against it, so it's kind of irrelevant. Do they have the Unlife? Okay, so it looks like they're on Grace. That should basically cement us at least threatening a kill this turn. So they have to have Grace plus Grace. Braid's irrelevant. Just play Spell Pierce. Alright, so these 5 come in. None of the graveyard crap makes any sense. 8 per snag, Ether Gust. Like, they'll probably bring in Leyline. They might bring in Leylines against us. Leyline's only so effective against what we're doing, because we're mostly creature based. I just don't want to leave too many of our burn spells in. A Braid is also a situational card, although they often have to have artifact mana to go off. So we just cut another opt. I mean, we have the creature hand, so I guess we hope to rip spells. Like I said, I fully expect them to mulligan Tor Leyline. Not impossible for them to win on 5 cards, but they are a bit of a deck dependent upon having a certain combination of cards. So mulliganing for Ad Nauseam is a good bit more problematic for them than a deck like Dumb Combo #1. Because their deck either requires 6 mana plus Ad Nauseam, Angel's Grace, or requires 5 mana plus Ad Nauseam plus Phyrexian Unlife to be in play, or it requires Grace, 3 mana, which has to be 4 mana, sorry, blue, blue, black, white, Grace, Unlife. Granted, they could just play a Phyrexian Unlife here and just, you know. Looks like a Pentad coming down. Yeah. Which could mean we could be theoretically comboed as soon as next turn. Because they get, if they have 3 lands, that, and a Simian Spirit Guide, they have enough mana to potentially kill us. Although it's a good bit more difficult in that regard with their Simian Spirit Guide setup if they don't have something like a Manamorphose. Fortunately, unless we draw a spell to damage them next turn, we're not really set up for a turn 3 kill. We're set up more for a turn 4 kill, because it would take our whole turn to cast Light Up the Stage. That was one of the risks of this particular hand, is yes, we could potentially kill them quickly, but without a mix of spells, we're a little bit, you know, our creatures are 1/2s. Uh, well, I'd say Tibalt's Trickery is destroying things. There's been a few other cards I've seen people play. The Tibalt, whatchamacallit, people have been messing around with, and some Jun shells. The Imposter one that you can cascade into Tibalt. Seen a few other people messing with some cards. But honestly, Kaldheim just seems... Okay, so we're dead? Question mark? Basically dead. That buys them a turn or two, because we have to drop them to 0 and then drop them to -10. Alright, that was actually quite a nice draw. Bolt Chew. So that means we can't kill them for 2 turns. So maybe I should have gone for Stormwing. Let's see. Magic spoilers. Doomscar could see some play, though it's a little bit tricky. Looks like we're just dead here, so... Let our opponent do their thing. Rindan God Unworthy could be okay in, like, Death and Taxes. Especially if we're trying to screw particularly the snow decks. To be honest, I haven't looked at the complete Kaldheim set yet. Or Kaldheim set, just because it seemed pretty underpowered from what I had seen. Well, underpowered by recent modern standards, I should say. But yeah, Tibalt's Trickery and Tibalt have seen some plays. I'm sure there's a few other cards people have been messing with. I saw... Dylan MTG was messing with one of the other cards, the Red God. Burgi, God of Storytelling. Whenever you cast a spell, add red until end phase. You don't lose mana at steps and phases. Creatures you control boast twice during each of their turns rather than once. Its other side is discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. He was pairing that with Song of Creation to allow to basically play a bunch of spells in one turn. You know, there have been some decent ones. You know, if Demon Bolt had been deal 4 damage to target creature or player, the card would have been like considerable for something like Burn. You know, pay 2 to exile it and then foretell for 1. Goldspan Dragon looks cute, but it's more of a standard card. It's not really a card to kill your opponent. Alright, looks like they didn't really sideboard all that much. Honestly, it looks like mainly their main deck configuration. So opponent's gonna have to double Simian Spirit Guide into Pentad Prism. Then cast Thassa's Oracle. Opponent's showing us enough here. I think it's too slow for traditional Storm, but it's okay for like what our opponent was trying to do. Not bringing an Aether Gust. I mean, yeah, I could target Lightning Storm, but you know, our opponent showed us multiple forces of negation. So, okie dokie. Sand seems like a potential turn 3 kill. Turn 4 on the play is generally fast enough against Ad Nauseam. So we go Soulscar Mage, Mutagenic Growth, Stormwing Entity. Following turn we could Lava Dart plus Stormwing Entity. So we'll look into 5. Once again, doesn't have Leyline. I suppose as someone, they said they normally pilot this deck, so I guess they can understand that Leyline isn't quite as effective against the key component when you mulligan to 5 with Ad Nauseam is usually the mana more than the spells. Because usually if you're mulliganing, you find the spells, or at least the ability to dig for them. Would love something like Gut Shot or something here. You know what I didn't want to see? I did not want to see a third Stormwing Entity. That is like one of the cards in the deck that I'm just like not very happy to see. Nope. So I'm swinging for 4 here. Next turn, I could Lava Dart. Okay. So we're swinging for 4, putting them to 16. So if I play Swift Spear, play 2 spells in 1 turn, they're at 16, 15, 12, 11, 10, 9. We're 1 spell short? I think I'm fine with that outcome. I'll leave 1 Swiss Spear on top here. I think we're basically 1 spell short of killing them next turn. said maybe I should have bought him that for a land. Kind of hard to say. Looks like they're just playing Phyrexian on life this turn anyway. So yeah, I should have bought in the Swiss Spear, it looks like. We could be deadest in his next turn if they have land or black producing land, plus Thassa's Oracle and Spoils of the Vault. So despite the innocuous position, with the Thassa's Oracle thing, they do have a backdoor combo to us. So okay, white producing land will not do it. This could just be Pentad Prism though, which would solve their mana issues. Yep. Are we threatening lethal here? 10, 2, 4, 8. This is going to let our opponent know that the coast is clear. Spell Pierce is going to be a turn late. So I could have stacked it the other way to potentially guarantee a kill next turn, but the problem is if they have Grace wouldn't keep them alive. 4, 6, 8. So we're likely dead here. Yep, looks like an ad nauseam. Alright, well, that's been fun. Back to looking at the Battle Mammoth. Asika, God of the Tree, could be something stupid. There's also In Search of Greatness. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. That seems like a card that could just be broken in the right shell. This hand's pretty good. Oh, for Lord's sake, really? You know, when I put up the screen title this morning, it was just Ingest. Like, really? But this is getting ridiculous. Keep the opt, bottom the... Is our opponent just an actual honest deck that just like... Oh no, that's probably for Tibalt's Trickery too. Never mind. Well, we keep a Metamorphose. Don't think this is quite lethal this turn. So that's currently 6 plus 11. One damage short. At least they can't use a fetch land. Don't know if that'll be relevant or not. Nope. So we're not exactly sure what our opponent's playing. It looks like they're a Tibalt's Trickery deck or a control deck with a really bad start. So I'm just going to bring in these guys. The disputes are a hedge if they're a red deck. Not a red deck, an actual control deck with a terrible mulligan. But that just seems like the Tibalt's Trickery deck to me. With the Mystic Sanctuary potentially being the ability to put it back on top of their deck. I don't know. Like, I'm so paranoid of that stupid Tibalt's Trickery deck right now that I'm thinking anybody that mulligans to like 3 or 4 is Tibalt's Trickery at this point. Nope, they're Tibalt's Trickery. make sure they don't have two Emrakul's in hand. Nope, there's an Emrakul in their deck. Good, clean fun. Sand would need to hit a land drop right off the bat, and then hope to hit another land drop to Mystical Dispute, and that's hoping our opponent doesn't have a Gemstone Cavern in their hand. I think just too many things have to go right with this hand. This hand doesn't have any creatures. Yeah, I think we keep this 5. It's terrible, but... Yep, we're dead on turn 2. So I could bluff some type of counterspell here, but it's not going to buy us much time, so I'm just going to play my Sprite Dragon, somehow hope they don't have a third land in their 53 land deck, and... Yep, that hence the stream title, Debo. Hence the stream title. Yeah. So well, it's not a meme in Modern. It's a turn 2 or turn 3 kill. You have to have Disruption. You have to have a Thoughtseize. You have to have an Inquisition. You have to have Spell Pierce, Dispel, Force of Negation. Otherwise, you die. Or kill them on turn 3 if they're on the draw. Or hope they mulligan to Oblivion. But even on a mulligan to 2, they can win. Because as long as they have Violent Outburst in their hand, and not... as long as they don't draw their Tibalt's Trickery or their 2 Emrakuls, they win the game. You cannot hope they miss because they mulligan to Violent Outburst. and then their land is like 53 lands, because the deck is 53 lands, 4 Violent Outburst, 1 Tibalt's Trickery, and 2 Emrakul. So they are literally the meme treasure hunt deck on crack. They're guaranteed to win, unless you can disrupt them or kill them before they do that, which there aren't too many decks that can actually kill them before. So as far as disrupt, actually there is one other card. Grafdigger's Cage might be the only. Grafdigger's Cage and Aethersworn Canonist are both permanent based cards that could disrupt. Oh, Deafening Silence. So Deafening Silence, Grafdigger's Cage, and Aethersworn Canonist are all permanent based forms of hate that they can't beat. But against slower decks, a lot of these, at least Sodak, I haven't seen anybody else messing with it, have a transformative sideboard plan where they have Explore, Dryad, Summoner's Pact, and Primeval Titan. I know Sodak was messing with a Field of the Dead version. So it's not just guaranteed, but if you're presenting a fast clock and disruption, so Red-Black Shadow is probably pretty good against them. This deck, if I had a better sideboard configuration, would be decent against them. You know, if I had more Spell Pierces and Dispels. The problem is they're not good against a lot of other decks. So, like, sideboarding for that deck, I mean, like, Cage can be good against Uro, but it's not good against the rest of, like, 4-color Uro pile. So you're kind of in this dumb vortex where you really have some problems. But I'm actually going to wrap up the league this morning, or I guess I can play one more match. I'm a little bit up against it in time, and frankly, leagues like this are just not particularly interesting to me. It's just dumb to me that there's a deck in the format that is guaranteed to kill you on turn 3 and isn't really, like, traditional aggro is just pathetic against it without, like, specific hate cards. So oh my lord, a mirror match. Decisions. don't have a second mutagenic growth. Alright, they're killing Soul Scar, sure. Really need to find a second land is what we need, so that's why I'm casting the Opt. Mutagenic Grove. I hate to bottom that, but doesn't really feel like it advances what we're trying to do here. Opponent seems to be flooding out a little bit, which might be a benefit for us. Wow. Just wow. We've had how many looks at a second land? Does it say light up the stage? No, we're just dead. Alright. Alright, so bring in the gusts, bring in the braids, bring in the Bedlam Reveler, I think. Go down the ops. Gutshot's really only good against this hand's fine. Some ways it's really hard to refocus after getting comboed 3 matches in a row. Does opponent play a creature or do they just... Yep, fortunately that works. Yep. Yep. Let's let this hit us. Obviously it's not great if they have a light up the stage, but it is what it is. Soul Scar is the more annoying card. good for that. Probably should have tried to kill their Swift Spear there. Should have flashed back the dart. Let them use all the resources on a big turn here. Oh. Well? Yep, sure. Only 2 Ether Gusts back to back. It's unlikely with only 1 prowess creature we can kill them next turn, but we at least gotta give it a try. 'Cause I don't think we get an untap. Yeah, you just be glad you missed the first 3 matches. Put it that way. A good chance we're dead. So what is the best way to do this? Swing with Stormwing, hold Sprite Dragon back for a chunk block. If they drew anything reasonable off their Bedlam Reveler, we're probably dead. Do you see the stream title? I put that stream title up ironically, but it was prophetic. Yep, there's the record. So, moral of the story, come prepared for Tibalt's Trickery right now if you're playing Modern Leagues. Actually, no, I would say Shadow is the correct one to be on. Because Thoughtseize and Inquisition are relevant pieces of disruption right now. This deck, if reconfigured, could also be reasonable in the meta. I was talking to the Ad Nauseam player we played earlier, and he's like, yeah, I'm normally on Izzet Prowess, but there's not too many Izzet Prowess decks in the league right now. He's like, yeah, I beat the Trickery deck by playing... or Tibalt's Trickery deck by playing Dispel and Spell Pierce. So basically, I ran into the Tibalt's Trickery combo deck twice, played Ad Nauseam, and then couldn't refocus for the mirror match. Basically what happened today. So I would say traditional Burn's completely unplayable right now as long as people are playing that stupid Tibalt's Trickery deck. Burn just doesn't have enough stuff going on. Yeah, you could play like Cage, you could play like Aethersworn Canonist, you could play Deflecting Palm, but none of those cards are necessarily enough on their own, and you have to play, what, like 4 to 6 of them in Burn to have a chance. You know, and even then they can potentially board into their whatever sideboard plan their particular pilots come up with. I know Sodek was working on a Titan sideboard plan. I don't know if that's the correct one or not. You know, and we, yeah. So there's not much to describe. How do you not know that people were talking about the Tibalt's Trickery? Basically, it's 53 lands, 4 Violent Outburst, 1 Tibalt's Trickery, 2 Emrakul. You mulligan the Violent Outburst. Since your land deck is 53 lands, you're guaranteed to hit your land drops. You cast Violent Outburst, cascade into Tibalt, the 1 copy of Tibalt's Trickery. Tibalt's Trickery specifically says a spell not of the same name as the one that was countered, its owner may cast, and then they cast an Emrakul. And since it's a cast Emrakul, they take an extra turn, annihilate your board, and then kill you the next turn. So it's a guaranteed turn 3 combo. Like, as long as you have Violent Outburst, you are guaranteed to combo. and your opponent has to bring in Relevant Disruption or kill you before their third turn, sometimes second turn on the draw if they have Gemstone Caverns. So it's kind of a dumb deck. It does fold to Thoughtseizure Inquisition or Mana Leak, Remand, Dispel, Spell Pierce, Ether Gust even. But if you're not bringing enough Relevant Disruption, you just die on turn 3. And there's no like, you can't bring in Graveyard Hate or blow up their Charbelcher. Dude, people have been talking about that for like the last several weeks, actually, since the card got spoiled. I think Frank Karsten did an article on it. He's like, yeah, there's like an 89% chance or something, or 88% chance of turn 3, whatever, as long as you're willing to mulligan. I mean, I appreciate Busy Life. That just, but yeah, it's just a guaranteed turn 3 kill. So I won't be playing Burn for a little bit, or if I do, it will be a severely warped sideboard plan, because I ran into that twice today. I ran into it once yesterday. So it's kind of where things sit there. Basically, if you're playing in modern leagues right now, you got to be ready for that deck because it's the new hotness. Well, yeah, it really. Well, I guess technically within the last 2 days it's come out, because I think Wednesday was the first day you could play it. I know Yama Killer played it. I saw Sodek streaming it yesterday after the stream. He lost to an Izzet Prowess deck that was playing like Force of Negation and such. So you just got to bring in Relevant Disruption. And what's really tilting is like the land base can be tailored in such a way that you can appear to be just about any deck for the first turn or two. Like I had one opponent that like played Misty Rainforest into like the Teamer Triome. I was like, oh, maybe they're just a bad mulligan from an Uro player, and then it's like, oh no, they mulliganed to 2 games in a row, so we're up against Tibalt's Trickery. Now I'm not saying like you can't win games. Like we won 2 games in each of the sets, but it's such a beating. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the stream this morning. We're dead for money. I'm gonna go ahead and queue for a match and concede to our opponent just to give them an extra little bit of a boost. Let's see if there's anybody worth raiding right now. I guess we'll raid Spike, but he's doing goblins. Interesting. Alright, hope everybody has a great day, and I will catch you all probably on Monday for a stream. I think I'm going to take the weekend off, so be back for a stream Monday morning. So, catch you guys all then, hopefully. You too, War Dog.